We're back in Cafe Jose to talk about big things. We're just trying to make sense of it just like a lot of you are. I'm Rusty Ray. This is Gizzy Miko. And last time we were talking about evolution.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, big topic, right?
All right.
But speaking of big, let's talk about before evolution, and that's the Big Bang and the idea of how everything started. And again, some Christians may say, oh, it's just like the Bible says. It's just like Genesis. It's just like the tradition that's passed down. Is that this is the way it happened, and science has kind of come along and over the centuries and said, well, this, or maybe this, or maybe this. And so there's a lot of maybes, and there's a lot of uncertainty, and I think that's where people maybe get lost in their faith.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about the Big Bang Theory.
That's right.
And where does that even come from?
Right. A lot of people are surprised when I tell them that the Big Bang Theory was actually developed by a Catholic priest, Father George Lemaitre. So it's actually kind of ironic that a lot of people use the Big Bang Theory to say, well, you people of faith, obviously this is a more logical conclusion.
But at least that proves it's possible to be a scientist and a person of faith.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's
good.
You
can definitely be a scientist and a person of faith. I guess it's nice to debunk that we can believe in the Big Bang Theory and be people of faith. What we have to come to understand, though, is that God is the one who started the Big Bang. It's kind of like if you have a row of dominoes and they're all there, what makes them fall down, right? Like someone has to push the first one over for every other domino to fall over, right? We can really look at the Big Bang in the same way, where God's the one who started it. He's the one who pushed over the first domino, which created this chain reaction of other events. But if you don't have anyone to start the first domino falling, none of the dominoes are going to fall.
Is it just that simple in using your word to kind of debunk or take away any myths about what one person may think about a certain belief or a certain theory? Is it that simple to just say, hey, well, Catholic priest, he came up with that, so there you go. I mean,
Right.
Does it have to go deeper, do you think, for some people than just saying that?
I think, you have to really think about, okay, the Big Bang. Is it possible for just there to be nothing and then all of a sudden for there to randomly be an explosion? Like, if we really use our minds, how does nothing all of a sudden become an explosion? There has to be some conclusion of movement, something causing a movement of atoms or particles. A logical conclusion for that would be something outside of that nothingness starting movement, which causes a Big Bang. So, it really doesn't matter if it was a Catholic priest or an atheist who came up with the Big Bang Theory, but really, what can we logically come to a conclusion about? And what makes the most sense, really? Is it more logical for nothing to all of a sudden explode? Or is it more logical for there to be nothing and something outside of that nothing creating movement or particles or light? So really we can use our minds to see which one makes more sense,
So we're talking about these big questions, the Big Bang, the evolution, creation, things like that. But I guess the question is, Gizzy, do you think that people, when thinking about science and those specific guideposts, and then maybe thinking, well, how can God be any part of that if science can explain it? Is that keeping them, if they tend towards more the science, keeping them from a life of faith, a life perhaps in the church, and even participating more in the church? Do you think that's what's keeping people away?
I think the largest thing that is keeping people away is what they think the church believes about these things. I think a lot of people have this idea that if you're a person of faith that you can't believe in evolution, or that you can't believe in the Big Bang Theory, or that you can't believe other things that science can show us. But as Catholics, we always use reason as a stepping stone to faith. And so if we have something that's scientific, that's provable, that's measurable, obviously that's a truth that we would gladly embrace. And I think a lot of people don't know that, don't realize that. So I think it's important to communicate to the world that we can believe in some of these things, but that they're guided by the hand of God. And, science can't disprove that God did it. So we can't come to the conclusion that it wasn't him. When science can show us measurable ways that it wasn't God, or that his hand isn't involved, then you can come to a more rational conclusion of that. But obviously there are no measurable signs of that. So we can definitely believe that these things are true, and these things absolutely can strengthen our faith. So I think it's great to share with people that, yes, we can believe in these things, but they're orchestrated by God. So, yeah.
Good news then.
Yeah, very good news.
All right. Gizzy, thanks so much. Thanks for stopping by Cafe Jose. We'll see you next time.